Good morning,
Good
Taru.
morning, Sarvati.
Good evening. For you, it is good evening.
Yeah. Mm.
So
So,
by mistake, I logged in at 6.
okay.
Hectic.
Yeah, because the other two are at 6, na? Yeah.
So after that, I sent a message to you. Then I noticed that it is only at 6:30. Then I deleted the message.
Okay. Maybe we can make this 6 as well. We'll see. Yeah, just to
Yeah.
avoid
Both
confusion.
are fine. Yeah, both are
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So, we'll begin with the study circle,
Yeah.
Aurobindo and Mother study circle, where we are doing a book study these days on a compilation by Dr. S Dalal, and the name is Looking from Within. And we are on chapter 2, part 5, and the topic is Dealing with Others. So if you would like to read this passage,
Yeah.
that you could, yeah, thank you.
Dealing with others. To take advantage of what is good in others, keeping one's eye always on that, and to deal tactfully with their mistakes, faults, and defects is the best way. It does not exclude firmness and maintenance of discipline, even severity when severity is due. But the latter should be rare, and the other should not feel it as if it were a permanent attitude. I will read it one more time. To take advantage of what is good in others, keeping one's eye always on that, and to deal tactfully with their mistakes, faults, and defects is the best way. It doesn't exclude firmness and maintenance of discipline, even severity when severity is due. But the latter should be rare, and the other should not feel it as if it were a permanent attitude. So beautifully he has written, no? But how many times we are able to follow, we don't know. Mainly we see mistakes in others. And we want to make it a point that no, this is not right. Yeah. And it, today morning it happened. It was so funny. This is reflecting there. So my husband was making coffee. So So the coffee it didn't have sugar. So generally, I don't take sugar, so he has not added sugar. But today I wanted sugar, so my mind was saying, to point out, "Enna sakra polya? You didn't add sugar." Then I thought, why should I say this in this tone also? No, I should not tell this. And I drank the coffee like that. The intention, that attitude to pinpoint others. If we don't uh, step back, definitely that would have come. It's so beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
especially if
very,
you are
very
saying that
silly
you,
example, but
yeah, no,
but
because
still,
especially when you are saying that you don't even add it usually, then
yeah,
it's, yeah, it's so
but
fun.
still, I wanted
Yeah,
to pinpoint
yeah.
our beautiful ego. Superb it is. Huh?
So like you said, right, we usually do get very stuck by the faults and the goodness we take for granted, right? Maybe initially we find it good, that's what attracts us and all, but very soon we take the goodness, and I think it's quite true for ourselves also. Like if I look at myself a lot of times, if something is good, if something is right, maybe I might look at it once or twice, but I usually just keep it on the sides. But my mistakes, my defects, the things that I still have to transcend, those really I keep quite in front. So I think this also goes, how when mother says that you will, if you see mud all around, that means mud is in you. So if I'm able to, look at others beauties, their advantages, their goodness, basically, not advantages, then that means I'll also spread more goodness and see more goodness around in me as well as outside, right? So it's just a attitude, right? Like how they talk about the swan, right? That she takes up the milk and she's able to leave the water behind. So sounding something like this, it will lead us to more goodness if we choose to see it. Like, but that is a choice and a practice we'll have to inculcate.
Yeah. So I don't know whether Meera shared in the class yesterday when she fell down, 2, 3 people came forward to help her. People who were passing by the road. She was just sitting on the platform, pavement, so she couldn't walk after fall. So one auto fellow came and he asked her, and he told her to sit in his auto, though he will not be able to bring her home, but madam, it is okay, you sit till your booked cab comes. So this shows all the humanity. And the other, immediately the other cab guy came and he was very rude. So there is a mix of good and bad, but we should be able to see only the good. So still good people are there. So I was so happy when she expressed, in the pain also, she told me, Amma, a lot of good people are there. See, one guy is bad, it is okay. At least so 2, 3 people came, and somebody, who were passing the road, they stopped, husband, wife, they came and gave her water. What do you want? I will wait till somebody one of your friend comes. It's all not necessary, but still people have good attitude also. We should be able to see the good attitude, which is very, very important lesson for us to learn. That is what I was telling myself. Oh, if I was in that position, maybe I would have shouted at the cab guy. So there is always a need for shift in attitude. Yeah. Thank you.
So, to take advantage of what is good in others, keeping one's eye always on that, and to deal tactfully with their mistakes, faults, and defects is the best way. It does not exclude firmness and maintenance of discipline. Sometimes in the name of harmony, and especially not stable harmony, right? Unstable harmony, not true harmony. We do a lot of pushing things under the carpet. We do a lot of here and there so that the other does not feel bad, they don't feel hurt. We don't have to, you know, kind of face them or stuff. So I guess here when he says it does not exclude firmness and maintenance of discipline, even severity when severity is due. So although our eyes are on the goodness, and yet if we can deal tactfully with the mistakes, and anything we need to do for that is good. But the latter, which is severity, should be rare, and the others should not feel it as if it were a permanent attitude. So when it needs to be there, it must be there, but it should not be the way you are. So that's what I guess, that gentleness and yet firmness, discipline, that's what it sounds like.
So, Taru, this one, it does not exclude firmness and maintenance of discipline, even when severity is due. That means you have to be strict when something is wrong, but that is what is the meaning?
Yeah. So it's like we should not hesitate in being, even going to an extreme, right? When something is
Okay.
being done, we should not hesitate that, oh, no, no, I am Mr. Goody Goody. I should not be reacting or saying things strongly, right? So,
Oh, that okay.
yeah,
So when needed, you have to behave that way, and
yeah,
immediately you should come back. Okay.
yeah. I
Okay.
remember my father, he shares this small anecdote that when he was young, like maybe, I don't know, 15, 16, or maybe 2, 3 years more elder, they had gone to one of his guru's place in Bucklaw in Punjab. And there were a lot of trees in the ashram. So he and his cousin, they started, just taking things out of the trees, like plucking fruits and I think throwing them or eating them, something like this. And they saw the guru coming and they thought, oh, he's such a, always smiling fellow. What will he say? He'll be fine. But he gave them a good kind of bashing that what are you doing? This is irresponsible, don't waste and stuff. So they were very surprised. But later on, after some time, they saw again he's sitting in his meditation. So when he had to show anger, even I don't think he would be angry, right? Like if he had to show anger, he was able to show when it was needed. And when he had to again go back to his meditative state, it didn't take him any time. But yeah, so that is also needed. And that, my father, even after, I don't know, 70 years, still remembers that scolding he got and what he did wrong. So I guess that's something to remember. Yeah. So I think we'll get more because this is the topic we'll be reading now. So we'll maybe read more about it. So the next passage again is from Sri Aurobindo. So if anybody is willing, they can read. Yes, I'll read. Starting from each human being. Yeah, so I'll read. Each human being is
I,
composed of. Yeah, Ritu, you'll read? Oh,
I think I was reading, but I was on mute.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. Each human being is composed of different personalities that feel and behave in a different way, and his action is determined by the one what happens to be prominent at the time. The one that has no feelings against anyone is either the psychic being or the emotional being in the heart. The one that feels anger and is severe is a part of the extreme vital nature on the surface. This anger and severity is a wrong form of something that in itself has a value, a certain strength of will and force of action and control in the vital being, without which work cannot be done. What is necessary is to get rid of the anger and to keep the force and firm will along with a developed judgment as to what is the right thing to do in any circumstances. For instance, people have allowed people can be allowed to do things in their own way when that does not spoil the work, when it is only their way of doing what is necessary to be done. When their way is opposed to the discipline of the work, then they have to be controlled, but it should be done quietly and kindly, not with anger.
Yes, thank you. So seems a bigger one, although it wasn't that big, but we'll just take it up line by line. And any reflections, of course, are welcome at any time. So we do know, right, that we are not one, we are many. We have seen by now, I hope, the different shades of us. So each human being, Sri Aurobindo says, is composed of different personalities that feel and behave in a different way. And his action is determined by the one that happens to be prominent at that time. Somebody who's very, I don't know, very disciplinary, but if he's with a group of his friends and he's having a good time, if something happens which is not okay, he let that pass, right? He's in a happy mood. If people are usually in a gentle mood, but if they are kind of, they were, how they say, they're having a bad day, somebody was rude to them, something small happens and you burst out. So so that's what, it appears that he's saying that it's determined, how you react, how you act is determined by the one that happens to be prominent at that time. So in me, the prominent part takes over. So the one that has no feelings against anyone. This is very interesting that the one in me that has no feeling against anyone is either the psychic being. This, we know that psychic being is just, the witness and it's the main connection, or the emotional being. This was very interesting to me. So, in addition to the psychic being, there is this emotional being in the heart. The one that feels anger and is severe is a part of the external vital nature on the surface. So, I think this is very revelatory because usually when we feel something strongly or we are getting angry, we take the anger to be me, right? It's coming from my heart. I felt hurt. How could they say this to me? How could they do this to me? Why don't they understand? So we feel it's coming from my heart, right? It's my emotions. But here Sri Aurobindo is saying the one that has no feelings against anyone is either the psychic being or the emotional being in the heart. The one that feels anger and is severe is a part of the external vital nature on the surface. So whenever...
So, Taru, here, sorry,
No,
sorry to
please go
you were
on.
saying. Yeah, no, the psychic being or the emotional being is not having anger. That is what he says. So the anger comes from the vital.
Yeah,
Is it that?
so he's saying, although it's worded a bit difficultly, right? It's not that straightforward. So yeah, this is what
Okay.
it appears to be, that
Mm,
psychic being would not have any feelings against anyone, right? Like how we
okay.
have so many feelings. And similarly, the emotional being in my heart, the inner being, inner
Mm,
emotions won't have feelings against anyone. It's only
mm,
my external vital nature, like the ego, right?
acha.
Like the vital in
Oh,
me, especially the external one, which is not very coming from very deep.
mm,
Because whenever we are able to step back, like you were sharing, the morning coffee
mm,
example, you were able to
mm,
step back and you were able to connect with that depth, right? And you realize that, no, I don't want to say it. But
yeah.
when we don't step back, right, then the external vital nature in us is acting, which we claim to be us, right? When somebody hurts us, we say, Arey, mujhe, right? I got hurt. Me. But that's mostly just the external part of me because, a lot of time they say that, oh, you were hurt. Good. Because only the ego can get hurt and it's good that it gets hurt, right?
So beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, so he said it really beautifully that, and if we know this, right, that maybe then we can take it in a bit more step back way, even our anger, which is very tough because it just comes and it engulfs us. We have seen it.
Yeah.
So, this anger and severity is a wrong form of something that in itself has a value. So, the anger could have had a value, but it's in a wrong form. So, but if you, so it has in itself has a value, a certain strength of will and force of action and control in the vital being without which work cannot be done. Right? So the same energy, usually they say that people who are perfectionists, right, who want perfection, they get angry a lot. But how does that help, right? So it's the same energy that can be channelized or used in a more constructive way. So this anger and severity with which we react is a wrong form of something that in itself has a value. So that energy is coming, it depends where do I channelize it, right? Anger, it just goes, right? It's out and it's done. It's not there for me to use anymore. But if it's used properly, it has a value, a certain strength of will and force of action and control in the vital being without which work cannot be done. So that dynamism, the dynamic force in me, it appears like, I mean, at least it's appearing, I don't have to be right, of course, is also, I feel that's what gets channelized into anger and then you're just done and dusted. Because he says a certain strength of will and force of action and control in the vital being without which work cannot be done. We'll read it again.
Sorry, Taru, can you please explain this one more time? This anger and severity is wrong form of something that in itself has a value, a certain strength of will and force of action and control of the vital being without which work cannot be done. What does it mean?
You know what?
Without anger, we cannot do anything. What is
No,
that?
what I can understand is that, see, there's an energy that goes in the anger, right?
Okay.
There's something in me which allows something to come out, right? To burst, to spill out. So there's something, so that energy he's saying is inherently, it is of value, which I waste in anger. So if I don't waste it in anger, a certain strength of will and force of action, and with a control in the vital being, this without which work cannot be done. So the same energy I need for the work. So if I'm not wasting that energy in anger, I will be
Okay.
able to have more will, more force of action, and more control in the vital being, which is needed for more work, which is needed for progress, which is needed for. So it's like I fail myself again and again because I'm not able to control, right? I say to control anger, even if we look at it this way, it needs the will, right? It needs a force to control that force. And I need to control my vital being, right? I need to realize that it's a superficial thing. I need to realize that it passes so soon. So both ways, I think we can see that if we have that control, we'll be better workers. We'll be better at what we are doing. And to control that also will make us work better because then that energy is not getting wasted.
Okay.
Because how we say it's limited, right? I can control it and channelize it. And although I have like no idea, I have not never studied it, but you know how in Tantra they also say, right? That how we waste energy, right? The sexual energy, and how people who practice it can use that same energy and they can use it for their progress. So I don't know how that works, but I have, so it sounds something like this, because you have that limited thing or not limited, whatever that thing, and wherever you channelize it, in which direction, because once it's out, it's just wasted.
True. Yeah, thank you.
Although I think it could, be explained much better, but yeah, that's all I can see right now. Yeah. So what is necessary is to get rid of the anger and to keep the force and firm will along with the developed judgment as to what is the right thing to do in any circumstances. So yeah, this also sheds some light, right? That light that what is necessary? That, see, I see something wrong, I start shouting, screaming, the people start reacting, and then the work doesn't get done, right? Then there's just energy wasted in the fight or whatever. So what is necessary, Sri Aurobindo is saying, is to get rid of the anger. Okay, something I see which I don't like, which I feel is wrong, I want to get angry, but I know getting angry doesn't help me or anybody else, and it's a wastage of energy. So to get rid of the anger, but the force that I'm feeling, right? Anger has a force, right? I give it energy. So to keep the force and firm will, that okay, if I don't have a will, if I don't have an opinion, what is the anger directed towards, right? So he's saying get rid of the anger, but keep the force and firm will along with the developed judgment as to what is the right thing to do in any circumstance. This reminds me that in the Delhi ashram, everybody is given a lot of chance to to do good work, to do what they are good at, to, even if there were other aspects which people might not gel with, but they are always able to, let that person be good at what they are, and they try to keep the, discrepancies aside because the work needs to get done. So I think this attitude is then needed, right? Because if you keep getting annoyed, or if you say, oh, this does not happen my way, or this is not the highest way that it can be done, you will have very less people then working, good workers working for you then. So, what is necessary is to get rid of the anger and to keep the force and firm will along with the developed judgment. If you're angry, you will have to have again the force, the will, the judgment. So, he's saying get rid of the anger because it does me no good, but keep the force, keep the firmness, keep the judgment, so that what is right thing to do in any circumstances. You should know it's not about just being a dull person and just smiling at everything. So, to give an example, he says, for instance, people can be allowed to do things in their own way when that does not spoil the work. So, if something needs to be done, a project is there, something needs to be done, and we are giving people that independence. So as long as it does not spoil the work, it's okay to give them, give everybody that independence to do things right when it is only their way of doing what is necessary to be done. So if they are doing a work in a certain way and it's not spoiling the work overall, we must allow that. They must be allowed to do that in their own way. So when their way is opposed to the discipline of the work, then they have to be controlled, but it should be done quietly and kindly and not with anger. If the work is being done, if the end product is good, like, and I'm just extrapolating and I could be totally wrong, but what I can see is that everybody must be allowed to do things in their own way, unless their own way is going against the discipline of the work, what has to be done, then they have to be controlled. But again, not with anger. We should do it with kindness and with a little bit of quietude, and we can direct people in the right direction. This is what I could understand. Welcoming more reflections, if any, or questions or suggestions. Because these are just snapshots of questions and answers and all. Sometimes they don't give the complete view because we are just reading part of a bigger thing that has been told. Yeah. So this is by Sri Aurobindo. So if there is nothing, and this, I think we have gone through it, so we can take up the next passage, which is again by Sri Aurobindo, and it's a smaller one. If anybody is willing, they can please read. Sorry, I think
So, Taro, I'll
this is
read.
the one. Yeah, this is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To
Yes.
discourage anybody is wrong, but to give false encouragement or encouragement of anything wrong is not right. Severity has sometimes to be used, though not overused, when without it, an obstinate persistence in what is wrong cannot be set right. I'll read it one more time. To discourage anybody is wrong, but to give false encouragement or encouragement of anything wrong is not right. Severity has sometimes to be used, though not overused, when without it, an obstinate persistence in what is wrong cannot be set right. First sentence is a bit difficult to understand, I think.
Yeah, I think
To
to
this.
keeping in context the topic, right? The
Hmm.
topic is, first of all, this is looking at oneself and others, right? This is the main chapter's name. So this is what we are talking about. Then to keep in mind that Sri Aurobindo, these are the snapshots that Dr. A.S. Dalal felt that he has spoken about Sri Aurobindo and Mother. They have spoken about dealing with others, है ना? So in that context, if we look at it, so he's saying to discourage anybody is wrong. Like if somebody is trying to do something, and if we discourage them that forget it, you won't be able to do it, or you shouldn't do it and stuff, that is wrong. If somebody is doing something, you must encourage, or you can just not say anything, right? We should not discourage anybody because we don't know what the other is capable of, and we know that a lot of times, there's some energy, there's a force that comes and helps us do things which are right, which are higher. So to discourage anybody is wrong, but to give false encouragement or encouragement of anything wrong is not right. So although on one aspect he's saying that if somebody is doing something, don't discourage them. But in the same line, he's saying, but don't give false encouragement. That if something is not good, we can say, oh, we need to, work on this a little bit more, for example. We should not just keep giving false praises, false encouragement, or encouraging of anything wrong is not right. That if, somebody is doing something wrong and we say, yes, 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 very good, that is not right. So neither discouragement should be there, but if there is, if we should not be encouraging something which is not okay, we should not encourage. So basically, I think if he would have just said to discourage anybody is wrong, we could have just misunderstood. That means that we should always encourage. So I think just to clarify that, he has completed the full sentence to make sure we don't get it wrong. To discourage anybody is wrong, but to give false encouragement or encouragement of anything wrong is not right. Severity has sometimes to be used, though not overused, when without it, an obstinate persistence in what is wrong cannot be set right. So if I have to be a little harsh, or if I have to take some extreme steps, in cases where otherwise it cannot be set right, if the persistence is very obstinate, then I must do it. Severity has sometimes to be used when without it, an obstinate persistence in what is wrong cannot be set right. If it's not obstinate persistence, then we would not have to use severity. We should not just use it every time. A lot of times I see in me that if I'm used to saying no to my child for certain things with a certain tone, even when that tone is not needed, I'll say the same thing because that's become my habit. And that is very wrong. We don't need to go to the extreme every time. We should have the discernment to know when that is needed and when that is not needed. So that's what I could get, and welcoming any reflections.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
Taru, most of the times we do not know how, because of the tone we get upset, so which is not needed. Yeah, now I'm able to, because if somebody raises their voice, in our family there is a person, she always, for giving normal instructions, oh, do this, the way she expresses will make me upset. Why should we shout? We can, always talk. Shouting at us is not necessary. I always feel that, I'll get hurt. Oh, this is a beautiful advice, how we should not behave like this. So beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing it up. Yeah.
so
I
Dr.
think,
S. Dalal,
yeah,
yeah.
a lifetime is needed for learning all that. Maybe not this lifetime.
Actually, we shouldn't say that we don't know, right? We are trying, we are doing what we can, and we'll see how that goes. I should be negative.
That
Yeah,
is also there. Yeah, true. Every day is learning.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. So I was hoping there's something from the mother also. It's much clearer and simpler, but today we have all passages from Sri Aurobindo, so we'll take the next small one as well. So, Ritu, would you want to read this?
Yeah. It disciplining the subordinates has to be done in the right spirit, and the subordinates must be able to feel that it is so, that they are being dealt within all uprightness and by a man who has sympathy and insight and not only severity and energy. It is a question of vital tact and a strong and large vital finding, always a right way to deal with the others. So it is a question of vital tact and a strong and large vital finding, always the right way to deal with the others.
Yeah. Very important to know where to pause with Sri Aurobindo because it can really leave things very confusing, right? Like you just changed the pause and suddenly the meaning changed. Yeah. So here he's saying that if we are disciplining the subordinates, it has to be done in the right spirit, and the subordinates must be able to feel it. That, what is being said is the right thing and it is being said in the right way. So they must be able to feel it that they are being dealt with in all uprightness and by a man who has sympathy and insight and not only severity and energy. तो lot of times we feel कि अरे इसको तो बोलने की आदत है, right? He's habituated to be angry. He's habituated to just find faults. So then you stop respecting or taking in the advice or the correction of those people. But if one feels that, yeah, what is being said is right and it's being said in the right way that the other can absorb, then it's a different thing. People are more willing to work on themselves. So it has to be done in the right spirit, and the others must be able to feel that they are being dealt with in all uprightness and by a man who has sympathy and insight and not only severity and energy. It is a question of vital tact. So, how he said the vital must be controlled. Like he didn't use the word control. He said to keep the force, develop judgment. Where was it? He said something about the vital. That's how one has to have a control over that. Vital tact. Yeah, so it is a question of vital tact and a strong and large vital finding always the right way. So if the vital, if we use, we can use some tact. Usually the vital is so full of energy that it rules us rather than we are able to exercise any tact on it. But Sri Aurobindo is saying it is a question of vital tact and a strong and large vital finding always the right way to deal with the others. So this is a tact, and we can, train ourselves to be able to have that control to find the right way to deal with others. Because it's so difficult. A lot of times we are, having our own emotions, going through our own things, and we end up saying things we don't mean and saying them in a way we don't mean to say them. So, and we have all experienced that again and again and again. So it's a question of vital tact. And when the vital is strong and large, it is able to find always the right way to deal with others. So taking that forward, this is the last one I think we'll be taking today. So we can read this one, whoever wants to read it, please.
I'll read, Taru.
Yes, please.
In dealing with others, there is a way of speaking and doing which gives most offense and opens one most to misunderstanding, and there is always a way which is quiet and firm but conciliatory to those who can be conciliated. All who are not absolutely of bad will. It is better to use the latter than the former. No weakness, no arrogance or violence. This should be the spirit. In dealing with others, there is a way of speaking and doing which gives most offense and opens one most of misunderstanding, and there is also a way which is quiet and firm but conciliatory to those who can be conciliated. All who are not absolutely of bad will. It is better to use the latter than the former. No weakness, no arrogance, no violence. This should be the spirit. So, if I'm not mistaken in understanding, so in Tamil there is a couplet, there was a poet called Thiruvalluvar. He has written some 1,200 couplets. In one of the couplets, he says, see, you have beautiful fruits in front of you. You have, sour vegetables also in front of you. If you want to give someone, so why don't you give the nice sweet fruits? Don't give the khatta feeling to others. So maybe this is taken in that way. I don't know whether my understanding is right, but I'm just feeling. Always say sweet words, good things to others. When you have an option, do that. I don't know whether it makes sense, but just thought. Taru, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think that's what it is, that when he says, right? So in dealing with others, there is a way of speaking and doing which gives most offense and opens one most to misunderstanding. And there is also a way which is quiet and firm, but conciliatory to those who can be conciliated, all who are not absolutely of bad will. So when we are dealing, there is a way we can speak and we can do things, right? There is a way in which the others would feel offensed, which would feel we are not doing, saying it rightly, and we can then open to misunderstanding. I feel that a lot of times, if I'm just thinking about myself and where I stand, then there is a higher chance that I'll be shocked that, but I said it this way. How can anybody misunderstand? But if we can see where I am standing and where the other is standing, then if I communicate something, then there is less chance that there is any misunderstanding. So either I can speak in a way which can be taken offense on, or things can be misunderstood, or the other way is to do it with some quietude but firmness. And I think conciliatory is like to prevent somebody from getting angry. So if things don't have to go in a certain direction, if I can stop that, if I don't initiate that, all who are not absolutely of bad will. So if a person can get angry, say if he's usually that spurty, if I can use some tact, if I can use a better way of speaking, then I will not push them to that behavior, to that end, which would hurt both, them and me. So it is better to use the latter than the former. So the former was to speak in a way which would give offense, and the latter is to speak in a way which is firm and quiet. No weakness, no arrogance or violence. This should be the spirit. So my spirit should be that there should be no weakness, no anger, and I should be quiet. So I'll just check the meaning of it again, just to make sure we are not. So it is, first of all, how do we conciliatory? Okay. And intended or likely to placate or pacify. Yeah. So that the other person doesn't get angry. Yeah. Showing willingness to end a disagreement or trying to make someone less angry. Yeah. Angry or yeah, just to clarify. Yeah. Okay. So in dealing with others, there is a way of speaking and doing which gives most offense and opens one most to misunderstanding. And there is also a way which is quiet and firm, but conciliatory to those who can be conciliated, all who are not absolutely of bad will. So if somebody is of bad will, no matter what you do or how hard you try, they will go in a tangent which you don't intend them to go. So for those, we can't do anything. But for those who can be pacified, for those who don't have to go there, if we speak better, we don't have to send them there. So it is better to use the latter than the former. No weakness, no arrogance or violence. This should be the spirit. So again, see, this is very beautiful because a lot of times we might say that, okay, I'm either weak, and if I'm not weak, the way I come out can be arrogant or violent. But the state is neither can anybody say you are weak, nor anybody would say you are arrogant or you're violent. So there's a beautiful balance that can be maintained where there is strength in the character, there's no weakness, and there is no arrogance. So this too is by Sri Aurobindo. So this was chapter 2, passage number 5, section dealing with others. We actually do have 9 more minutes left. So if there's, unless we would want to read it again, the whole thing, we can do this, or we can even start with number 6. Anything we want. If anybody has a comment, advice, we can take that. Should we go ahead or just read number 5 again?
So we'll read this again, Taru. So it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. So Sadaji, you can read if you would like, and if whenever you get tired, you can stop and Ritu can take over. So number 5, dealing with others.
Yeah, I'll read. To take advantage of what is good in others, keeping one's eye always on that, and to deal tactfully with their mistakes, faults, and defects is the best way. It does not exclude firmness and maintenance of discipline, even severity when severity is due. But the latter should be rare, and the others should not feel it as if it were a permanent attitude. Shri Aurobindo. So I'll continue the next also. Yeah, each human being is composed of different personalities that feel and behave in a different way, and his action is determined by the one that happens to be prominent at that time. The one has no feelings against anyone is either the psychic being or the emotional being in the heart. The one that feels anger and is severe is a part of the external vital nature on the surface. This anger and severity is a wrong form of something that in itself has a value. A certain strength of will and force of action and control in the vital being, without which work cannot be done. What is necessary is to get rid of the anger and to keep the force and firm will along with the developed judgment as to what is the right thing to do in any circumstances. For instance, people can be allowed to do things in their own way when that does not spoil the work, when it is their way of doing what is necessary to be done. When their way is opposed to the discipline of the work, then they have to be controlled. But it should be done quietly and kindly, not with anger. Yeah, sorry, Taru, here a lot of noise. My helper has come, so she's making
No, it's
background
fine.
noise.
It's quite at the background. This is so interesting right now that when you read it again, that this
Yeah,
one, that people can be allowed to do things in their own way. When we are
yeah,
reading this, it seems like, yes, obviously, right? Why will I stop anybody? And yet, there's a lot of me which feels this is a good way, this is a better way, right? Like, say, you were saying there's a help, right, in your house right
mm,
now. So, we do
mm,
have our own way of doing things, right? So, even if what she's doing, it could be even better than, the end result could be better than what I do or equal. Yet, because
yeah,
I do things in a certain way, I firmly believe it's a better way, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
without
very
even
true.
realizing, I would stop, I would scold, I would say, no, no, इसको ऐसे करो, ये ऐसे अच्छा लगता है,
Mm.
and stuff. So he's saying, advising us not to do that. Yeah. Because when we are doing that, something in me is saying that I know better, right? I know better. Yeah.
Yeah,
Without
very
even
true.
acknowledging that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this we have always seen in the ashram, the bhavan, when everybody will be given it. We'll all given a day. Monday is somebody, Tuesdays mine, Thursday, Wednesdays my sisters, like that. We all take turns and go clean the place and arrange flowers. But what happens, I always see, that ego. See, when I arrange flowers, it is very neat and clean. It is the perfect, it is the best one. But if somebody else is doing, you know, human ego is very, very funny. We do not, sorry.
No, no, it's fine.
So it always discourages.
Mm.
So when I started going to the Bhavan, initially I used to feel nervous because I have always heard the comments from behind for about others. So no, I was telling my sister, no, 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 it is not my cup of tea. I will not come. I will do whatever I want at home. Mother will not tell anything. Mother will not judge anybody. Mother will not judge me also. So she only sees the devotion. But there it is a common place. Lot of people will come. And if somebody says something, it won't look nice for me. And going all the way from here, buying flowers, and taking time arranging, and it should feel good to everybody. But my sister says, no, what you're doing is you're doing for the mother. It is between you and the mother. Why are you worried? But still I also had lot of comments, but after that I corrected it also, trying to always, it's trying only. We cannot be corrected fully, but this resonates with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So just because I comment, right, then I am also, I don't know how, we are stopping so many people from doing things that would be nicer and expansive just because I feel they are not done in the right way. And I don't know, it would not be true maybe in this case, but a lot of times I've seen that if I judge, then
Mm.
I'm more, aware that others would judge me. So
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
also there. But if I don't judge, then I would just go, merrily do the thing and come. So that's also something for self-reflection for all of us, that usually that is the case. Yeah. Otherwise, I would not be open towards that. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, Ritu, would you like to read the last three?
Yeah. 8. Disciplining the subordinates has to be done in the right spirit, and the subordinates must be able to feel that it is so, that they are being dealt with in all uprightness and by a man who has sympathy.
Your voice has stopped.
Vital tact and a strong and large vital finding, always the right way to deal with the others. Sri Aurobindo.
Yeah, so your voice kind of stopped in between, and we have to do this also. So if you just want to reread it from here, so first this one, then this one. So discourage anybody.
Yeah, should I read again?
Yeah, and read this one also.
Okay, okay. To discourage anybody is wrong, but to give false encouragement and or encouragement of anything wrong is not right. Severity has sometimes to be used, though not overused, when without it an obstinate persistence in what is wrong cannot be set right. It, disciplining the subordinates, has to be done in the right spirit, and the subordinates must be able to feel that it is so, that they are being dealt with in all uprightness and by a man who has sympathy and insight, and not only severity and energy. It is a question of vital tact and a strong and large vital finding, always the right way to deal with the others. Sri Aurobindo.
Here I think again and again something that is standing out is why we are doing what we are doing, right? So it appears that you're doing everything for the greater goal, towards more progress, right? That is why it's always, how it's like saying that when without it, an obstinate persistence in what is wrong cannot be set right. So it's always about setting right. It's not about doing it my way or obliging to my ego or my ways of being. So just to note this, that if I have to use severity to correct something, I must use it. If I have to use it to set something right, I must use it. But it has to be done in the right spirit. So the center of operation is not that I think this is right and this must be done this way. To always be, have that bold head that yes, towards whatever the highest I can see at that time, let me also go there and let me try to stir the others there as well. So right way, right way was there a lot in these passages. So the last one I'll read, that in dealing with others, there's a way of speaking and doing which gives most offense and opens one most to misunderstanding. And there is also a way which is quiet and firm but conciliatory to those who can be conciliated. All who are not absolutely of bad will, it is better to use the latter than the former. No weakness, no arrogance or violence. This should be the spirit. So all these passages were from Sri Aurobindo today. So we'll be ending the section here, and next week we'll be doing sin, a thing not in its right place. That too would be a lovely topic. So we'll end here today, unless there's any last comment, any question. Yeah, so thanking Grace, thanking the Divine for these words of guidance. May I be able to take what is needed for me, in my behavior, in my attitude, which is needed for my progress to make me a better individual, a better being, a more evolved attitude. Yeah, so that I can be one drop of poison less. And so thank you so much. And have a good weekend.
Thank you, Taru. Thank you so much, Ritu.
Thank you. Thank you,